these sessions will consist of two parts. So our solution providers will represent or have a short presentation for you of their company, their use case, and then you as the spectators have also the possibility to ask questions. You can do that either in the Q&A tab in the chat of the platform that we are using, or you can also raise your hand, and then our studio can give the floor to you, so you can ask your question live to the companies and to the representatives. Or if you are watching us on the YouTube live stream, you can also leave a comment in the YouTube section, and we will then choose and ask some questions to our partners. So now I think I have covered everything that had to be covered. I can only say enjoy, and I will hand over now to Alan, our head of sales.
Hi, Samantha. Thank you for the intro. So unfortunately, I have to change the schedule. Eugenio couldn't make it today because he's sick, and it'd probably be a bit unfair of him to force him to present while having a cold and not feeling so well. The good news is that instead, we're going to do a dedicated webinar, probably about an hour long, where we're going to look at some market insights and really try and get a snapshot of where the current IoT market is, because we've all been in our houses for the last 18 months and probably got quite a bit of tunnel vision as far as what's happening in the macro level and outside of our own markets. So I think that'd be a really nice webinar, and we will update you guys as to when that happens. Yeah, so everyone can go and have a beer a little bit earlier today when the webinar finishes, and yeah, we can hand over to Ingi now to.
Correct. Hi, Ingi. Oh, I think we cannot hear you, Ingi.
And is that working now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Samantha. Hello, everyone. My name is Ingi Diego, and I'm the Technical Account Manager here at Laureate. I'm just going to give you a brief introduction to a bit of Laureate's history, as well as its future roadmap. Let me go ahead and see if I can share my screen now. Excellent. I think that should be visible to everyone now. Excellent. So, since its inception in 2015, Laureate has had a global mindset. The value of LoRaWAN isn't limited to a specific region or market. That's why we have an internationally distributed team with offices in Switzerland, Hungary, and Spain. And we also have a very ambitious vision for future growth and plans to expand rapidly in 2022. Our vision for the future is for a better planet and improvements in society by making use of the powerful tools and insights that IoT and LoRaWAN can provide. Back in 2015, when we deployed our first public server, we then added 2 more within the first 6 months of activity, as we wanted to offer the best performance, lowest latency, and greatest coverage to as many users as possible. Our network never stopped growing. Only a few months ago, we added a new network server for the Israeli market. Currently, we have 60 plus private and commercial enterprise servers across the globe. In addition to that, we have 13 free community servers. So people everywhere can build, learn, and grow their ideas and concepts at no cost. We have our documentation page. We have YouTube videos and events like this one, which are a great source of curated information to help people learn and understand the power of LoRa. We've added 4 professional public servers to provide professional service worldwide on a regional and local level. For a minimal fee, startups, research organizations, and proof of concepts can get off the ground and have a fully functioning LNS with a 99.9% SLA and support at a fraction of the cost, because they're sharing the infrastructure cost with other smaller organizations. So currently we're able to offer this in 152 countries worldwide. The Osprey was chosen to be the mascot for version 7 because it's found in nearly all parts of the globe. And as a bird of prey, it can soar to incredible heights and has fantastic vision. It's sometimes referred to as the king of birds. Well, our solution is designed to provide scalability, high availability, and performance worldwide, plus extreme versatility to allow use cases in nearly every vertical. So we have a strong focus on market-driven innovation. Our approach is based on listening to the market, our customers, and our partners. Their feedback helps us detect the user and operator pain points. We meet with them, we work with them, and we use their feedback to constantly improve our solution to meet real needs. Each and every support ticket is tracked and identified to see where we can add new applications or functionality to help manage a LoRaWAN network, make it reliable, and make it scalable. Now we'll discuss one of those improvements that Laureate is pushing forward in the market, that of roaming and the concept of global networks. So passive roaming has proven to work when all the gateways are on the same LORIOT server. So if you're out of range of your gateway, but the payload is detected by a third-party gateway, it will be redirected to your account. Then we have the Laureate roaming hub, where Laureate customers can connect and operate via one another's servers if they're all on the Laureate network. Then there's the interoperator model, where we've recently concluded interoperability tests with various other LoRaWAN network providers. We've confirmed the test and the technical ability to connect our customers to other LoRaWAN network providers, and now the effort is in closing the commercial and partnership agreements to make roaming business ready. We hope to announce some of those agreements very soon, as they can generate real opportunities for our customers. Now we have a fantastic update for everyone, and that's that we've nearly completed the last test and will soon announce full support of LoRa 2.4 gigahertz on our Laureate Osprey version 7. It has ultra long range, low power consumption, and some of the highest reliability with regards to connectivity against similar 2.4 gigahertz radio data transfer technologies. LoRa 2.4 devices are designed to operate off a small button battery. It has no duty cycle restrictions, allows for a higher data rate, and there's no regional restrictions. So it can operate across the globe, all on the one frequency, which is fantastic for maritime, logistics, transport, those sorts of use cases. Our roaming will come in pretty handy now, not just in Europe, but around the world. Now we'll have a look here at one of these use cases, a customer of ours, Donalto, who's using LoRa 2.4 for asset tracking. Why the 2.4? Well, because LoRa 2.4 can offer an average operating range of about 5 kilometers. So you get amazing coverage over long distances by using 2.4. In addition to that, the battery life of many GPS devices is around 5 years, meaning every 5 times you replace the batteries in a GPS device, you only have to change the battery once in a LoRa 2.4 device. Also, the accuracy is much more improved over standard LoRaWAN. In 2.4, it's brought down the location accuracy to under 5 meters. So that's perfect for tracking containers, vehicles, machines, or plant equipment. As for anchors per site, you only need about 4 or 5, whereas for Bluetooth, you need about 10 times that amount. So that's a basic and brief overview of kind of what we're doing and our global vision for Laureate. So thank you very much for attending, and thanks for your attention. Back to Samantha.
Thank you, Ingi. That was a very interesting speech. I think we all get a very good idea about how the roadmap for us will be and how the future can look like. So now we can go over to our core of this event, the pitching sessions of our 5 partners and solution providers. And we will start with Christian Fessler from Adnexo. It's a Swiss company, and Christian is the founder and CEO of the company and will tell us more about their use cases.
Hey, thank you very much, Samantha. Can you hear me well? All right, so let's get started. Yes, so I'm Christian Fessler. I'm the co-founder and owner of the company Adnexo, and I kind of represent Switzerland here, and we're almost door-to-door neighbors with the first LORIOT office here in Thalwil. So I'm proud to be the Swiss representative here. So basically, what are we doing? We do offer asset tracking to our clients in various domains. Within this presentation, I want to quickly introduce the use case for construction sites. So what is our product? It's basically a software platform that is based on web technology and tracking, as you might know, or most of you know, is basically answering the questions which assets, like machines and stuff like that, are where and when. And basically give you a way to digitalize the inventory management. So what are the actual problems the construction sites face? Basically, nowadays, they have a kind of a distributed inventory. So how that works is usually the clients avoid to have storage costs. So they no longer keep their machinery like in storage somewhere in buildings, but they try to move it from one construction site to another construction site directly to optimize its usage, right? And like minimize downtimes or idle times. What that, on the other hand, maximizes is the inventory efforts. And nowadays, most of the inventory is kept in Excel sheets manually. So which machine has been used on which construction site when. So it is very clear that this is very, very fast out of date and prone to errors. And another task they are investing a lot of time with is maintenance, especially if the equipment is running engines, such as diesel engines, for example, because usually the maintenance intervals for those machinery is based on running hours. So, for example, within 1,000 run hours, you need to check fill levels, such as water, diesel, or oil. To do this, basically, the maintenance people drive to the construction sites and check these levels manually. And they have no insight whether these checks are possible or not. So there's a huge potential to reduce these empty trips, kind of. Another task they want to optimize is the utilization of their equipment. So basically know, do they have enough machinery of a certain type, and optimize the disposition. So basically, can I use this machine on day one on construction site one and then use it on day two on construction site two, and make sure that it's not overutilized, so no overlapping bookings, but at the same time come close to 100% usage. Some of our clients tell us the way it works today is basically they pick up the phone and call all their friends whether the machine is being used on their construction site or not, or whether it can be lent. So this is what we have a solution for. Basically, we provide our clients with automated GPS tracking that is manufacturer independent. That means if you buy new machinery, such as excavators and stuff like that, nowadays they have a GPS tracking solution built in. First of all, it's very expensive, and it's manufacturer dependent and kind of proprietary technology. And construction companies usually have a variety of devices, like very old machinery and new machinery, and they want to have a solution for all of their machinery. Because if they only can cover a part of it, it's not going to work to optimize the process optimally. Second, they want to actually monitor some more sensor data from the devices, like running hour counters and fill levels, as I said, to then in turn optimize the utilization and view this information in real time. For example, here on this screenshot on the very top right, you can see a graph of the utilization of a machine over time for 2 days. So how are we going to do this? Basically, our platform is map-based, so you have kind of map-based inventory that is updated in real time. As I said, it's Swiss-made, almost next door to LORIOT. Apart from running hours, we can display various type of sensor data. So for example, also temperature, CO2 values, fill levels of containers, fill levels of storage, weights of certain type of pallets. And what we do is we have developed some devices ourselves, tracking devices for very specific use cases. But what we also do is we rely on other manufacturers that are kind of very spread on the market, and we just integrate their technology. because some clients already have devices in place, they just want to reuse it in another software solution. Our solution is accessible everywhere. It is compatible with various network types, of course, also LORIOT. And I guess the benefit of our solution is that we are happy to customize it. For example, provide customized reports for clients because they have specific needs. And we have kind of a roadmap, and people can contribute to it and tell us their wishes, and we're happy to implement it. All the information we collect from the devices can also be accessed externally by APIs to, for example, integrate them in existing ERP systems or whatever. Another very important functionality is geofencing. So basically, you can span up fences around your construction sites, basically draw your construction sites, and then receive notifications on events that these devices trigger. For example, you can get notified if devices or machinery leave a certain area or construction site or enter the construction site. And then in turn, with the historical look at this data, you can use it for automated billing. So basically, at the end of the month, you can tell, okay, these devices, these machinery have been with this client for this amount of time, and you no longer need to do this like manually on paper or Excel sheets. That's about it. Please feel free to reach out to us if you want to have a demo or some more details about our product. I'm open to questions now. Are there any?
Great. Thank you, Christian, for this presentation. Very interesting to listen to you. And I think it's always impressive how you find a workaround or a solution to make processes less manual and less, let's say, trying to avoid manual mistakes. So yeah, I think that's very impressive. Could you maybe give us some more examples on how your solution can optimize a specific business?
I mean, basically, I think one factor one always underestimate is kind of the psychological kind of cleanness for people. Because if you can automate mundane and error-prone tasks such as manually updating the error-prone Excel sheets and stuff, at the end of the day, the people always also feel more happy doing their work actually, because the mundane work can be automated. And I guess the most optimization kind of thought mistake a lot of people do is it's not to like get rid of people, but basically do more work with the same amount of people. And I guess the best mechanism to tackle this is to automate the boring stuff.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. And yeah, as the more manual processes you can automate, the more creative people then can actually get in your company and be actually there to find maybe other solutions in other areas. So yeah, I think that's a big plus. I'm not sure if there are or what your big competitors would be, but from your point of view, how do you compete? What are your unique selling points, so to say?
Basically, we are trying to be very close to our customers. So what you get with us, like usually if you in the IoT world, if you're looking for a solution, you buy hardware with one company and buy a software solution with another company. But what you basically get with us is the end-to-end solution and like tailored solution. So we're happy to recommend devices. We configure the devices. Basically, you get a package with devices from us and you attach them and you're good to go.
And that's it. Yeah,
I guess that's a good benefit from us.
I think that's great because, I mean, every time you get something like a new new technological thing to play with. Sometimes it's really hard to set up everything and go through the entire process. So what you're offering, as you said, the end-to-end solution is really like having everything from your company and then also making life easier. I think this is what we're all looking for in this, let's say, fast pacing world. So yeah, thank you once again, Christian, for presenting. And
Thanks
thank
for
you
having me.
for answering the questions. Yeah, thank you for your time. Great. So after Christian and Adnexo, we're looking at the next, actually also Swiss company, as far as I'm correctly informed. We're going to hand over now to Erika, which is going to be represented by Andreas Michel, also one of the founders and the COO. Hi, Andy. How are you?
Hi, Samantha. Thanks. Good. Thanks for the intro. I'm the CCO, so customer.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Chief Customer Officer. I'm responsible for business development and sales.
Oh, sorry, I was wrong informed, but okay, now I have it clear, and I'm curious to hear more about air quality sensors.
Yes, so I will share my screen. So can you see my screen? Hopefully, yes. So I will just start. So the mission of Erika is to create healthy, productive, and energy efficient indoor environments. And why? We spend like 90% of our lives indoors. And the indoor air quality is not a huge topic to us at the moment. This changed a little bit with COVID, but studies have shown that indoor air quality bad indoor air quality can reduce the cognitive performance significantly, and also the risk of airborne diseases like COVID can increase. So those are the two topics, human aspect or the human aspects we tackle. And we also have a building aspect, meaning many modern buildings do have an HVAC system. HVAC means heating, ventilation, air conditioning. And those systems are responsible for the good air inside the buildings. And they're also responsible for like 40% of the global energy consumption. What we can do in those buildings is to find the optimum good air quality for the human and also decrease the energy used by those systems. And how we do it, that's so there's some background noise now from somebody. Yes, perfect, thanks. How we do it is we measure CO2, temperature, humidity, pressure, VOC, and particulate matter. With this sensor, we collect the data with this gateway via LoRa and provided by LORIOT, and we interpret this data in real time. And the main point, the fourth of it, is to act, meaning to give feedback to the people inside the room, for example, by light feedbacks, to enable integrations into building management systems or room management systems. That's what we're doing. So we're providing the whole vertical use case. And that is one of our USPs. We call it zero-click installation, meaning if a customer buys Erika system, he gets a package with the sensors. The sensors are wireless, so they can be placed inside the rooms. He plugs in a gateway and it's all done. So we're already collecting data and he already can see the insights over the dashboard, and also the API is available. To focus again a little bit on the value proposition of us, already mentioned it. It's about productivity, meaning improve cognitive performance and well-being. It's about health, reducing risk of airborne infections and number of sick days, and also the two other factors I mentioned, or I mentioned at least this one, energy consumption, to reduce the energy used by buildings and optimize building utilization. I will mention this or explain this a little bit in the next slide. So first thing is, as I said, it's about the human. So we're trying to erase this awareness about the indoor air quality, and we build transparency. First way we do it is by those lights inside the room. If a certain level is exceeded, the light will show it or indicate that a break is needed or the window should be opened. Next way, or another way to raise this awareness, is by QR codes. Those can be stuck at the wall of a meeting room, and the employee can scan it and has immediate insight into the air quality of the specific room. And third, we have aggregated data about how the room is used. I mean, this, for example, we see here about 1/3 of the meetings or the meeting time is at good, healthy quality, and 2/3 is not at good, healthy quality, which is a waste of, yeah, a waste of the productivity of the employee. What I mentioned before with utilization, what we can measure or what we can interpret out of this data in real time is presence. That's just an example. So we have a physical model running of the room with some metadata like the dimensions, and we're calculating out of CO2 measurements if there is a room, if there's a person inside or not, or how many persons there are inside. That's one of our USPs. It's data science of time series in real time. We can answer many more questions than just if there is somebody in the room. We know if the windows are open. Is a room over-ventilated, under-ventilated? Is it overheated, underheated? How much energy is wasted? And many more questions. So that's our main USP, really, what we get out of this collected data in real time. So what we help companies is to analyze workplace productivity, energy efficiency of the building, and utilization. And this is just a short example of Trimlichspital. So they see how often the room is used, how good is the air over the day, and what is the normal, how many people are inside the room usually. That's here, one person is in the room alone most of the time. Second example is from Holcim. We see here 22 different rooms with all the metadata I mentioned before, and we can now say air change per hour recommended. This is according to a specific level which should not be exceeded. For example, 1000 ppm CO2, and we find out 4 times air change per hour is needed to never exceed this level. And what we see is the actual air change per hour per room. So we can say room number 1 is over-ventilated. We could decrease the ventilation there. Room number 2 is under-ventilated. It seems like it's not sufficiently ventilated for good health or good health inside the room. So that's what we figure out. Here's some customer of us. We do have a lot of schools, universities, government, a lot of big enterprises, and we also work with IMCO as a research partner. So that's it. So a last quote of one of our customers, Holcim, which we we're able to help with optimizing the building ventilation. And last but not least, but we do have a campaign running at the moment against the 5th Corona wave. We offer 30% discount and a 2-month trial. I will share this link afterwards in the chat. So I'm done, and I stop sharing if that's fine.
Thank you, Andy, for all the insights and some analysis of some examples.
Yeah.
Great. I think we can go over to the Q&A, and I saw there was a question in the chat. I think it's very specific already about the sensitivity of the air pollution measurement. So the question is, I will read it to you. Does the device measure 2.5 or 10 PM?
We do have a PM sensor measuring 1, PM1, 2.54, and 10.
Wow.
But that's
so,
not our own sensor, it's the one of Decent Lab.
Okay, perfect. So you actually can cover a wide range of needs in that case. Great. I'm not sure if there are any more questions. I think maybe not in the chat, but I might have a question for you, since you showed also some screenshots as far as I could see from your data visualization. So if you compare a general multi-purpose IoT platform and your solution, what are the main differences?
Yeah, that's what I try to say with the data science we do in real time. Most of those generic platforms just visualize the data they're collecting with a time series chart. What we are doing, we're gaining, or we have a data science model in the background, a physical model, for example, as I said, for one room. Each room has its own model, and we are getting insights of those time series in real time. That's a big difference than just visualizing the data you read. Yeah, that's the main difference.
Great. Thank you for clarifying on that. And okay, you also analyzed a little bit the data about heating, ventilation, and air conditioning in a room, for example. So what could be the big plus or advantage, and in the end, the actual environmental impact for buildings with a centralized system?
Yeah, we did some not research, but we're well, let's say research. We did something with South Pole, and we figured out that we can save up to 10% of energy in a building with saving ventilation energy and heating energy, just by making it smart. And this is equivalent to 0.2 tons of CO2 per room. So that's what we are able to save, and to help also about the sustainability topic for those enterprises.
Absolutely. And I really like your campaign on stopping the next Corona wave. I think it's a big topic now, at least in Germany, as far as I know, and in Austria. I don't know what the situation is in Switzerland, but maybe that could be
also a huge topic at the moment. Yes.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I will just check if we have any other questions in some other sections. I don't think so, but yeah, as I mentioned, I think it's a good point to really also think about installing your sensors going hand in hand with the pandemic. Actually, in the past, has it been a big incentive for companies to use your solution, the COVID situation?
Yes, sure. The COVID situation raised a lot of awareness about this topic. But I didn't mention it, that the idea is 3 years old, and it was really mainly about the human and the impact of this bad air for humans. And as we spend 90% indoors, it's quite a huge topic, which, yeah, without any awareness of this topic. And that was the main reason. Yeah, but COVID helped us to to really raise this awareness in the public. Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so it seems like you really had a sixth sense with that before the pandemic actually kicked in. My colleague just wrote to me that there's another question. I think it came maybe from the YouTube live streaming. So one of our partners is asking, do your sensors measure VOC?
Yes.
I think you mentioned it as well in the presentation. Great.
No. Yeah, is it enough? Did the answer just yes? I don't know.
Okay, great. So I think that was it for the Q&A session. Thanks a lot for the presentation and all the answers to our questions. And yeah, great. Thank you, Andy. And let's continue with our next guest, which will be the company Beringa, presenting to us. Run into some technical issues. I'm sorry. So Mark Sorsa-Leslie, one of the founders of Beringa, will present their use cases to us right now. Hi, Mark. Nice to have you here.
Thank you very much for allowing us to join this fantastic event today. So pleased to be able to share what we do.
Thanks.
So I think let me just share my screen. Great stuff. Hopefully you can see that. So thank you so much. I'm here today with my colleague David Walker, and yeah, as I said, we're absolutely delighted to be presenting our business. Beringa was a business founded by myself and my co-founder Paul Byrne. We're chartered surveyors in the UK, and David is as well. So we are real estate professionals, and we've been working in real estate for longer than we care to mention. And really our task is to bring together the data that's needed for the people that use, own, and run real estate to be able to make better decisions about the space that they are operating or using. So what I'd like to take you through today is just the a little bit about our vision for where we see the technology that we're using, the IoT technology, what it has the ability to do. And clearly we're in a world at the moment, sort of post COP26, where we're kind of interested in making sure that we are delivering real estate that is as green as it can possibly be. In fact, our vision is that we would like real estate to be the greenest asset class on the planet, an asset class that is highly efficient, both in terms of the resources that are consumed and the carbon that's produced, an asset that is energy positive, an asset that is actually generating a net contribution to the energy that we all consume on a day in, day out basis. And most importantly, using the data to help the assets themselves and real estate become more intelligent, more autonomous, and use the data to help drive much better decision making. So our vision is of real estate being powered by IoT and being a highly efficient, highly energy positive and autonomous asset class. So what we do as a business is that we help corporate occupiers, for the most part, to make the best of the real estate assets that they have. So I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a case study here, just to kind of think about this in terms of the cash and carbon that is being wasted in the real estate industry today. So if you look at the building on the left-hand side of this slide, you'll see the walkie-talkie building. That's a building in the centre of London that is currently valued at £1.2 billion. About 400 million of that value is actually tied up in the wasted space that occupiers have inside that building. So in cash terms, the occupiers are actually spending £73 million a year in rent and other costs. They're generating 22,000 tons of CO2 equivalent, and that they are not efficient in the way that they use the space. So they are wasting about 30% of the space that they actually have leased in that building. The net result for that is, in cash terms, a wastage of £22 million. And if we convert the energy consumption waste, it equates to about 31,000 trees per annum. So we've set about as a business trying to help corporate occupiers to make sure that they only buy what they need and only use it for the period that they use it for. And this is to help corporate occupiers make sure that they buy and let and use offices that are just the right size for them and just when they need it. Our industry really up until now has been driving with a blindfold, or driving without a dashboard, as you can see here on the image. So we've always known about things like the floor area of a building, or the total number of occupants that a building can use, or the maybe even the number of occupants that have walked in through the front door. But we've got no concept as an industry of how buildings are actually used on a day-to-day basis. So all the decisions that we've been making as an industry have been based on precedent, or on gut feel, or on rules of thumb. And I guess that what IoT brings to real estate is the ability to add a dashboard that's been missing, to allow us to be able to make decisions that are driven by the data, informed by the data, and ultimately potentially even made through the data we collect. So as a business, Beringa has created both a hardware and a software platform. Our hardware devices, our HX series sensors, are a multi-sensor device. And one of the things that makes us a little bit different in the way that we use LoRa is that we've kind of really packed a lot into our HX series devices. We use machine vision to count and position people. We can tell you precisely where people are in the building, right down to the desk, and tell you whether that desk is occupied. Inside the same box, we are monitoring the indoor climate, so the temperature, humidity, and pressure. We're monitoring the air quality, so we're using high quality CO2 sensing, VOC sensing. We're also monitoring the sound levels and trying to assess sound comfort levels within the building. And we've just added into our new device 2 additional features, which is light level and light quality. So we're trying to understand whether the building is consuming electricity when it's sunny outside and they don't need to. And we've also added into the same device Bluetooth tracking, so BLE tag tracking, so that you can use our devices as part of a wayfinding or an asset tracking solution. Everything we do in Beringa, the data comes from our device solution via Laureate, and we use then the data to connect back to the building and back to the building systems for direct control. So the data that comes from our sensors connects back through a BMS smart server to the building, so we can actually make changes to the building live based on the data we're collecting. All of this is also then reported back to the customers via our software platform, so a smart platform that is showing you where people are, showing you where problems are, and allowing you to go back through the history of the use pattern of the building to get to a very clear understanding of exactly how many seats do we need, how many meeting rooms do we need, what's the air quality like, what impact are people having on the building, how well is the building coping with all the people that we would like to accommodate within our space. The purpose of what we do is really to help our customers meet not just their occupancy requirements, but more importantly nowadays their ESG requirements, so their environmental, social, and governance requirements. And the data we're collecting really, really helps customers to do that by giving them a very clear structure. Just a quick example of our devices in place within a building at York House. in London. And in terms of the kind of case studies on what we're doing for customers, it's helping them to address reducing floor areas. It's helping them to manage the return to work by making sure that the right number of people are in the building at the right time. It's helping them to address things like air quality, especially as part of encouraging people to come back to the workplace after COVID. And more, it's about helping customers to understand their carbon emission production and to help them reduce that as far as possible. Some fantastic clients that we've worked with over the piece. We're really excited to be, part of this event and growing. And, we would love to speak to some of the wider network that Laureate have brought to the table here to see if we can help you to try and understand what's going on within your portfolio. So thank you very much. If you'd like to know more, please ask some questions.
Thank you, Mark, for sharing all the details, and especially also for showing us your vision in the beginning of the presentation. That was really impressive to me, especially thinking that we as a global community set ourselves goals in 2000, then 2015 and 2020, and I saw that your vision even goes further. I think it was 2040 I saw on your slides. So
it is, yeah.
Yeah, that was very impressive. I'm sure I will have some questions about that. I think so far there were no questions in the chat, but I always have some questions. So you were speaking about different parameters that you were measuring, and you were speaking also a lot about the occupancy of buildings and of rooms. And you mentioned that it might be very important right now to see and to track when people are coming back to work and how this is being managed. Are there any other strong reasons why this could be so important also in order to reduce carbon emissions?
Yes, I think that, the building management systems are all set based on a kind of a maximum capacity of the building. When these systems are set up, they assume that the building will be used at a capacity. Mm-hmm. So when we see that there are less people in a building, it just means that there are opportunities to do things like, for example, reduce the ventilation rate without affecting the air quality, or to switch off lights in rooms that are not being used, or to, not heat spaces where you potentially have people that are just coming into the space very quickly and then walking out of the space. So it's really important to kind of understand the pattern of use over time, and to use that to help to optimize how the building management system functions. And one of the big differences in what we're doing is that I guess it's like the switch from standard definition television to high definition television. Because we have so many sensors that are packed in and, in a very regular grid across the building, we have a much higher quality data, much more high definition data. So we can make the building kind of adopt or adapt to much smaller changes that are going on. And all of those little changes, when you add returns, yeah.
I think we lost you for a moment, Mark. I'm sorry. But what I understood is that that you can really find out on which parameters to change in order to act in a more efficient way when it comes to using buildings, using certain rooms. I thank you so much for this explanation. I think these are some points that we maybe in our day-to-day life are not fully aware of. And so it's really good to have you here as an expert and to help us out.
Thank you.
I saw we have some more questions. I cannot let you go yet. So I saw there were some questions in different chats as well. Yeah, so since the pandemic right now is still a hot topic, let's see how long this is still gonna continue. There was a question regarding also the pandemic. So did you get a lot of maybe unexpected insights, or did you find out some unexpected things while offices are being used less during the pandemic?
Yeah, I'd say that probably the biggest shock, I guess, is that buildings overall are using, through the pandemic, we're using 85% of the energy they would normally consume, even though they are completely empty. So, if you kind of think about what that means, it means that really you're talking about no laptops being switched on or monitors being switched on, and maybe, lights not being on in the building, but the vast majority of the energy the building consumes was in the heating, the ventilation, the air conditioning, and all of those were running all the time. Then the second point was the way that the return to work happened. So we've had a number of kind of shutdowns and people going back to the office and then returning back to working from home. So we can kind of see that as the first return to work in the UK, at least, it was a very gradual return to work. The second one, it was a much steeper curve. It was like people wanted to get back to the office. They were sick of being at home. And we can see in the data, we can see the difference in, how people have responded to that kind of call to go back to the office and to start working from the office. And then overall, the occupancy figures have not gone above 40% since the return to work happened. So buildings are still empty, pretty much. And that's going to continue for some time.
Wow. So yeah, I hope you could help your clients to actually not use the resources while no one was in the office. So that's already a good point you mentioned there. Another question was, in which regions are you currently operating?
So right now we have deployments in the UK, Europe, Russia, and some in the actually in Lebanon, actually, is our most furthest afield. So right now, mostly UK and Europe, but our new device is being certified for use in the UK, Europe, and the US. So those will be the markets we'll be concentrating on. And what we're looking to meet are large corporate occupiers who are looking to try and understand more about what's happening with their portfolios.
Perfect. So there will be hopefully more to come. I see there's another very long question. Let's have a look. Okay, I will read it out to you so you can follow. A question from our YouTube live stream is the following one. Isn't this already addressed with typical switch motion sensors in buildings? How are your devices different from these typical ones? And moreover, the potential for privacy concerns by tracking people. So a lot of
great. That's also a question from one of our competitors. So no, the PIR switch motion sensors that are in buildings will tell you whether a room is in use or not in use, but it won't tell you how intensively that room is used. So as we begin to think about space as a resource, we want to understand how well that resource is consumed. And that's what our sensors do. They tell you precisely how many people are in a room. So if you have a meeting room that has 16 seats and it's constantly occupied by 4 people, well, then you could have a smaller room, or you could have more rooms that are smaller and use them more intensively. The second point about the privacy, our devices are edge process devices. No imagery or leaves our devices at all. All that's transferred is the metadata that we've analyzed at the edge. And I guess that's why we use LoRa, because LoRa actually creates a kind of a bandwidth limit on what you can do. So it means that only the metadata can move from our devices. And that was one of the reasons we chose LoRa. It was a balance of, we wanted to use machine vision because we want a high precision head count and occupancy count. but we want the ability to deploy a solution quickly on an independent network that lets us, avoid having to have the worries and concerns about data privacy or data security. So, yeah, I'd say those are the answers.
Great, thank you for answering this long question. I think maybe to sum up a little bit and go in another direction with the Q&A, one last question from my side. I already alluded to it a little bit. There were a lot of political goals and targets set throughout the last years. So since you really have a strong vision for the future, what would you expect from politicians? What would you like to see them do?
I think one thing that's incredibly important is that we need to start really considering space as a resource. And I'd really like to see, for example, if I, as a corporate occupier, can identify ways that I could reduce my carbon footprint, and some of that might be, for example, giving up some of my space. I would like to see politicians putting in place laws that means that landlords would have to listen to you. They would have to do something and work with you to help you to reduce your carbon footprint. So that's a big thing, because at the moment, if you sign a lease and you're in a building for 10 years, you don't really have a huge amount of flexibility. You can sublet the space or you can assign it. But if you put together a concrete plan that says, I know I could reduce my emissions by 30% if I took these actions, I'd like to hand back some space to the landlord. I would like to change my energy provider. I would like to install these energy efficiency measures. I think that the landlords need to be compelled to work with the tenants so that they work in cooperation to make that happen. Mm-hmm. Today, they don't have to. Today, they could say, you signed a contract and that's it. Pay your money and that's it. Wait till the end of your lease. So yeah, there are definitely things that could be done.
That's a great point. Yeah, thank you for these words. This could also be a way to actually reach some political targets set by UN, for example, in the next years. Thank you so much, Mark, for the presentation. Pleasure. And sharing your opinion. And we will continue with our pitching session now. So the next company that will be presented now is Careband, and we have Adam today with us, who is the founder and CEO of Careband. Hi, Adam. Nice to have you here. I hope
Hello.
You can well. Hi.
Just share my screen here.
Perfect.
Okay, can we see that? Looks good. Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me today. Great speaker so far. Been very interesting to hear the different use cases. I'm going to move into the healthcare space a little bit, so outside from industrial and environmental, and talk a little bit more about Careband. As Samantha had shared, I'm the founder and CEO of Careband. And at Careband, we're really focused on helping seniors living with dementia and Alzheimer's stay safe and out of the hospital. So as you know, probably by now, the world is aging. My parents are aging. Many people are aging. And this number is causing a massive baby boom over the next 20 to 30 years. The other thing that's happening today is that people are having fewer children, resulting in fewer caregivers. There's really a gap in the market today. Additionally, more people are getting dementia. So today in the world, there's about 50 million people living with dementia, and that number is expected to triple in the next 30 years. It's also crazy expensive to care for people with dementia, costing about $1 trillion globally around the world for dementia care. And there's a huge gap in providing support and care for these individuals, no matter where they are, whether that be people living in their homes, people in assisted living, or even in nursing home facilities. And everybody knows that we want to live in home. We want to be able to provide care where we grew up or where we've been living for the past 30 years, but that's challenging to do today. So Careband was started in 2016 to really focus on this mission of keeping people living with dementia safe and being able to live independently for as long as possible. We're headquartered in Chicago, Illinois, in the US. We kind of have two paths of the company. One is on commercialization, so bringing the product to the market and selling that into senior living facilities or into the at-home environment. And then the other side is research. So working with leading research institutions as well as the NIH in the US and Canadian organizations as well to prove out the efficacy of what we're actually doing. I'll also mention that we have a great team of people, of engineers, of cybersecurity experts, and doctors that support us as we grow to scale into our mission. So at the high level, Careband is a location-based health and safety system focused on a few main things. Number one is keeping people safe. Two is keeping them independent for as long as possible. Then three is using the data that we're collecting to keep them, or to hopefully keep them out of the hospital. And if they go into the hospital, to recover quicker. So I want to back up just a few minutes and talk about the challenge that we faced around building this technology out. So when we started to explore how we could solve this problem of helping people stay safe and out of the hospital, we ran into these kind of three main problems. And I'll kind of go from 3 to 1. So first is that we needed a device that was going to have a long battery life. People didn't want to charge the device over and over again, so we needed a long battery life. The second is the ability to set up the system easily and without IT support. So a lot of senior living facilities don't have full IT support, which is challenging, as well as people living at home might not have the technical ability to really set things up or plug things in or set up their Wi-Fi and all of that. And then the first one, and maybe even the biggest issue, was that a lot of older adults today just don't have Wi-Fi in their homes, and they might not even have a smartphone. So sending data through those platforms really doesn't work quite well. We also see in the US, at least, a lot of senior living facilities don't have Wi-Fi, or they have Wi-Fi in one area of the building and not everywhere. And that causes a challenge as well when you're thinking about kind of data transfer. So this is why we kind of landed on LoRa 5 years ago, and we've been focused on this. And with LoRa, now you can just have a wearable, give it to an older adult, and it can automatically connect to the network using either a private network or a public network, and can kind of go around without having to use your phone or use Bluetooth and wait for the data to upload. It kind of avoids that complexity specifically for people with dementia. So Careband can do a lot. The solution is pretty capable of doing many different things, but the main thing is around location tracking and wander management. So people living with dementia, about 60% of people with dementia today wander or get lost. And we don't really know who's going to wander, but we know that they will wander at some point during their time with dementia. So our solution does a few main things. At first, it does indoor location tracking. So understanding if someone's in their bedroom, their bathroom, their kitchen, wherever they are indoors. The second thing is perimeter detection. So as somebody is walking up to a door, an exit door, or an elevator, you can get a notification saying that that person is near a perimeter. Then when they actually leave, you also get a notification saying they've left and a text message to know where they actually are. So our device changes over from the indoor location tracking to the outdoor GPS tracking, all using LoRaWAN as the communication channel. The other thing that we do on top of this location is capturing activities of daily living. So not just knowing that someone's in their bathroom, but what are they actually doing in their bathroom? If they're washing their hands or brushing their teeth, understanding a little bit more about what they're actually doing to understand when things might change and maybe things look off. On the research side of the company, we're really focused on identifying patterns early using either embedded machine learning on the device or cloud-based machine learning. And this data that we're getting is things like the location tracking and the activity detection, but understanding things like potential urinary tract infections. So by understanding that someone's in their bathroom based on the frequency and duration of being in the bathroom, we can see when there's a change in their behavior patterns and then alert a caregiver before they have to use drugs or have to go to the hospital. The other exciting thing that we're doing right now is we're working with a few different institutions and research, but understanding it's called life space, but it's a measure of cognitive decline. So life space at the high level is just how you interact with your environment and how big your life space is. So if you are mostly in your home versus you take a walk every day or you go to the city, that is your life space. And you can kind of see if that shrinks, that usually leads to cognitive decline or is indicative of cognitive decline. So basically taking some of these subjective measures that people have known about for a long time and turning that into objective measures that we can code into our device and then output to caregivers to make informed decisions. So the way that it works is that in a home or in a senior living facility, we strategically put up beacons around that area in the different rooms as well as the different exit points. Our devices are LoRaWAN devices that have GPS, Bluetooth. They have a sensor to know if the person's wearing it or not, accelerometer, a help button on it, and a number of other sensors built in. We then can send data up to the LoRaWAN network. We can work with a variety of different network providers, including Laureate. And then that data goes to our cloud and then out to our software via APIs, our mobile app or our web app. For a quick case study, we're working with Ignite Medical Resorts here in Chicago, and they deployed about 30 devices to their memory care residents. And what we found actually was that they didn't use it for what we had intended them to use it for. But one challenge is that people often with dementia sleep in people's rooms that aren't theirs, or they wander into other people's rooms. And they were able to find people much quicker who had done that at night instead of going room by room by room. Another thing is reducing the time for residents when you're looking for giving them medications. Today, a nurse kind of walks around the whole facility, and hopefully that person is in their room when they're supposed to be, but they're not often there. So being able to find them quickly helps significantly. And then the third area was actually being more transparent to family members. So once you have all that data about what your loved one is doing in the facility, then you can share that data with the family members who are paying the money to put your loved one in that facility, to give them some more insight of what's actually happening and what kind of care is being provided. So we work with channel partners all around the world, in the EU and Canada and the US. And we work on 3 different models. At the core is kind of a reselling model. We can also work through an API integration. So you have your own front end or your own custom software, and we can work there. And then the third area is through a white label application. So we provide the hardware and you can build the full solution outside of that. Thank you so much for your time today, and I'm open to any questions.
Thanks a lot, Adam. That was a very interesting presentation. Also, all the thoughts that you had while developing your solution, I think. And I also do have to say that I think this topic in general is something that is important to everyone, since we all get older, and of course in all of our families or maybe also friends groups, people are getting older, and this can be a very important topic to think about at some point. I had this as well with my grandmother, or also with my friends' family. We were talking a lot about that. So really some valuable input. Thank you. And I was actually thinking, you were explaining a lot about people with dementia. But for example, also in my personal environment, I do know a lot of people with, not a lot, some people with autism, for example. Could your solution also be used for people with autism or other disorders? And if so, do you have experience with that already?
Yeah, so we've actually gotten a lot of interest about using the solution for a whole bunch of different applications. So outside of healthcare, into industrial spaces with manufacturing, as well as with autism. I think from an autism perspective, there's a thing called runners, autism runners, and they get a lot of children run away as a part of autism. And I think our solution could work really well for that use case. We've had other interest for mental health as well as for alcohol kind of rehab centers. So I think there's a lot of applications once you understand that the core of the solution.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, thank you. I already thought so, but I wanted to hear your thoughts about that as well, of course. Another question is, so that is also really interesting for myself. Could you, or do you have an overview where exactly a solution is being used right now, or how the, let's say, as a pie chart, is your solution being used a lot in Europe as well, or rather focused on the US at the moment?
Yeah, so we kind of have customers split in the US and the EU. EU is a little bit ahead in terms of LoRaWAN coverage and technical ability around some of this stuff. So we've had a lot of interest there. So in Scotland, we have some customers there, as well as in London and in Slovakia. And it's being used in two main use cases. One is in senior living, and then the other is hospitals. So around using the call button or using the location tracking.
No, but very, very interesting. Thank you so much. I'm just checking all of the channels if there are any more questions. It doesn't seem so at the moment. I think I have asked my two important questions already. Thank you so much for the inspiration and really for the valuable work that you are doing. Yeah, I'm really curious to see, and I'm crossing my fingers that it will develop even further, Adam. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. And in the background, we already have Mauricio from Senicania, our company. Oh, he's gone again, but hopefully he will be back soon. So our next company that we are going to look at is Senicania, and we have Mauricio with us from Colombia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Hello, Samantha. Can you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you very well. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Let me see. So, hello, everybody. Good morning here in Colombia. So, I'm Mauricio Peña, and I am going to present the IoT network for the agroindustrial sugarcane sector in Valle del Cauca, Colombia. So, first, a short introduction about Senicania, who we are and what we do. Senicania is a private non-profit corporation founded in 1977 and financed with donation of sugar mills and cane suppliers located in Valle del Cauca, Colombia. So we have three research programs. They are varieties, agronomy, and factory process. And we develop sugarcane varieties. We work for the health of the sugarcane crop. We develop technology for crop management and factory process. We also provide economic and analytic services. And all the time we are doing technology transfer to our farmers and factory. So basically, we are covering all the industrial process of the sugarcane, from planting to transformation into sugar or alcohol and other derivated products. How we do that? We have a telecommunication network infrastructure that allow to us to monitoring and collect data from all the stages in the sugarcane crop. Right now, we have all this network. They are working to support our research, to increase the productivity of the sector, and to help for the preservation of our environment. For example, these two, the air quality network and the hydrometeorological network, they are specific for the monitoring and preservation of the environment. All these networks started in 1993. The first one was the meteorologic station. Right now we have 38 stations. And the air quality started in 2006. Then with the hydro, we started in 2014. The real-time kinematic services, this is for agriculture machinery. We deployed it in 2017. And finally, the last year, we installed our IoT network, which is based on LoRaWAN. We have 14 stations. Here it's important to remark that all these services that we provide to our sector with this network are for free. So our users don't have to pay for see the data. Okay, here we have our IoT network. So as I said earlier, we are located in Valle del Cauca, Colombia. You can see here in the animation. Here we have our 14 LoRaWAN stations. and the distance between the faraway gateways is around 200 kilometers. Here is very important to remark that the planted area with sugar cane is around 241,000 hectares, and with our network, we are covering between 70 to 80% of this area. Here we have some pictures of our gateways. Yeah, they are installed at the top of the towers. Each tower have 39 meters. So here we have a very nice view. It's too high. Okay. Now I'm going to present our use cases with LoRaWAN. This is our main project right now. We have a LoRaWAN data logger. We call it Senicania and data logger. And the hardware was developed with a local partner, and we provide the cloud solution and the network. This solution have 6 granular matrix sensor. We used to measure the soil water tension at different depths. So with this data, we are able to do a better schedule of the irrigation process. This technology allowed to us to have information about when to start the irrigation process. And the most important is to know how much water the crops needs, because we are strongly committed to reduce the water consumption and the preservation of our environment. Here we have some picture of the Senilogger installed in the field. Right now we have 150 units, and we expect to finish this year with 180 units installed. The integration at the end user can see the data of his sensor in a web application and also in a mobile app. So again, all these tools are for free. The user don't need to pay for the access of this information. Here, for example, in the web application, the user can see the historical data, the status of the sensor, if the sensor is online or offline. Yeah, that's it. What else? We are working in other use case. This is inside Senicania. We are measuring temperature and humidity. The sensors are located inside different labs of research center. This is for research purposes. And here we are using the integration between LORIOT and TeamsBoard. It's very, very friendly, very easy to use. So in a couple minutes, we are able to do the dashboard and the integration. And finally, we are developing our LoRaWAN data logger for different applications. We have some picture for the process of the layout design, then the 3D modeling, the testing and prototyping, and finally the end device in the real world. So here we have a rain collector data logger with LoRaWAN, and yeah, that's it. All of this is only possible with a great team behind the curtains. This is my team. That is what I want to say. So thank you so much for your time. I will be very happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Mauricio. Thanks a lot for the presentation. It's
Thank
really
you.
nice having you as a representative from Colombia and from Latin America here. I'm not sure if we had that before in other editions.
This is the third one.
Great. Yeah, you explained a little bit how your network already looks like, how big it is, and what you're aiming for in the near future. But how does it look in, let's say, in the wider future? What are your growth expectations, also in terms of subscribers and end devices? What would be the next steps in the next years ahead for you?
Yeah, so the first is we are a non-profit corporation, so we don't sell sensors. but we provide solution for our sector. And we expect, for example, with the matrix potential to have the next year 3,000 units. And right now we are working in other projects with rain collectors. So we expect to have, again, the next year, 150 units. But it depends of the sector and the initiative that they have.
Okay, great, thank you. I just saw, I'm monitoring a little bit our YouTube live stream, and I think there are also some interesting questions. So we understand that your business is very much focused on sugarcane, but can you also focus or provide support on other crops, or is that maybe one of the plans for the future?
Yeah, right now the support is only for the sugarcane sector, but we are able to listen other sectors if they want to be part of this network. But yes, we are able to listen them.
Okay, perfect. Also, always depends, of course, on the market needs and on potential
Yes.
clients that would be contacting you. I absolutely understand.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great. And yeah, it was very nice to see when you zoomed in where your deployments are and yeah, where you are based as well. So another question on that is if there were some hard challenges deploying such an area, or what exactly were the challenges and how you dealt with it?
Yeah, for example, the distance between Senicania and the station in Virginia, it takes around 4 to 5 hours driving in car. So it's very difficult to go to that places, and when the sensors are installed are more difficult. So it's a challenge to us. We are working with our farmers to do a constant training because they need to care of the sensor. We are not able to maintain, for example, right now we have 115 and it's difficult for us. So what we are doing is training all the time the users, so they be able to maintain the LoRaWAN device.
Absolutely, of course. Yeah. You cannot always drive like 3 to 5 hours to check
Yes.
if something goes wrong, right?
Exactly.
Perfect. Another question, I think very technical questions are coming in here. I will just read to you. So how did you determine the gateway to kilometer or distance ratio? How did you know where exactly to put them?
Oh, okay. So before the LoRaWAN network, we deployed a real-time kinematic network. This is for agricultural machinery. So we have the towers, and the distance between each tower is around 30 kilometers. So what we do was put gateways and take care about the distance between the end nodes and the gateways. Right now, the most far away distance between an end node and a gateway is around 15 kilometers. So that is okay with the standard.
So it was a lot of hands-on and testing.
Yes. So yeah, we
suppose.
have a long history with networks. Our first network was the meteorological station. So right now we have 38. So we reuse our infrastructure for this. So that is very, very important.
Perfect. Thank you, Mauricio, for these valuable insights. And so we get to know a little bit more about, sugarcane industry in Colombia and how you
Thank you.
help to support this. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Samantha. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. With that being said, and with having listened and seen all the presentation of our valuable partners, asked questions, heard some answers and opinion. We are now slowly coming to an end of our 4th edition of the Laureate Business Connect, also towards the end of the year. So thank you, all of you, very much, especially, of course, to our solution providers who took the time, who prepared themselves to present a little bit more about their companies, about their use cases, to listen to my questions and all the other questions by the spectators. Thank you as well for all the participants for joining, for taking the time and listening in. And thank you also to my colleagues for supporting me here technically. Thank you again, all of you, for listening, and I hope to see you soon, either on LinkedIn, Twitter, follow us, or in the next edition of the Laureate Business Connect.